President Biden just slapped $18 billion in tariffs on Chinese products over the next 2 years. This is on top of the hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs that are already on the books. So what is this going to mean for your wallet? I'm going to explain that to you in a second, but first you need to understand that imposing tariffs on goods coming from China is not new. Presidents have been doing this for decades. This is a power that Congress gave the president under the Trade Act of 1974. Today, President Biden said these tariffs are necessary because China isn't playing fair and they are basically stealing from American companies.
The price is unfairly low because Chinese companies don't need to worry about a profit, because the Chinese government subsidizes them and subsidizes them heavily. And the Chinese relies on other anti-competitive tactics as well, like forcing American companies to transfer their technology in order to do business in China.
The White House says these tariffs will apply to specific sectors, including steel, aluminum, semiconductors, electric vehicles, batteries, critical minerals, solar cells, ship-to-shore cranes, and medical products. In the last few years, Congress has approved billions of dollars of taxpayer money to help subsidize and invest in these American industries. So allowing similar, much cheaper products to come into the United States from China would just undercut all that taxpayer investment. So let's talk about these new tariffs that were announced today. And I'm only going to point out a few of them because there's a lot. President Biden said this year tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles will increase from 25% to 100%. The White House says China's export of much cheaper EVs grew 70% between 2022 and 2023, which the White House says jeopardizes the electric vehicle manufacturing here in the United States and all the jobs that have been created to make those cars here. Tariffs on Chinese lithium-ion batteries for those electric vehicles will also increase from 7.5% to 25% this year, and lithium-ion non-EV batteries will increase from 7.5% to 25% by 2026. The president says he's doing this because Congress approved $20 billion to invest in American companies to create these same batteries, components, and parts here in America. The White House says right now China controls 80% of certain segments of the EV battery supply chain, so this tariff will hopefully disrupt that and hopefully allow U.S. manufacturers to get in the game. Lastly, let's talk about these medical products that are going to get hit with new tariffs. Syringes and needles from China will see an increased tariff from 0 to 50% this year. Tariffs on certain PPE like face masks and certain respirators will go from between 0 and 7.5% to 25% this year. And by 2026, tariffs on medical and surgical gloves will increase from 7.5% to 25%. The White House says they're targeting these specific medical items to reward American manufacturers who made these products and kept American citizens safe during the pandemic. And by supporting these American manufacturers, it will insulate the American people from any attempt by the Chinese government in the future to try and disrupt this medical supply chain. Now, real quick, I want to talk about the politics of these tariffs before I talk about how it's going to impact your wallet. You may not remember this, but when former President Trump was in office, he also imposed hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs on China. And when President Biden took over, he actually kept a lot of those tariffs on the books, but now today he's increasing them. Why? Well, Trump and the Republicans have been trying to hit Biden on the campaign trail for being soft on China. Don't forget, it's an election year, people. So it appears like Biden, with this move on tariffs today, is trying to counteract that punch from Trump and the Republicans. As for your wallet, it is unclear how this is going to ultimately shake out. We do not know if these new tariffs will spark any wider trade dispute with China. The White House doesn't think so, but it absolutely could happen. It's also unclear how this will impact the current inflation situation we're dealing with in the United States. The White House says it should not impact it in any significant way because of the way the tariffs are structured. But the National Retail Federation thinks differently, saying a lot of American companies source or sell these Chinese products, and they say these additional new tariffs will absolutely trickle down to consumers. So if you want to read about these tariffs, I will email them out to you tonight in my News Girl News Roundup email, so make sure you sign yourself up.